Hello everyone, my name is PJ and welcome to The Void. Before 2017, it had been a long dream of mine to become a Let's Player, following in the footsteps of my favorite YouTubers like Markiplier and Corey Kenshin, but I didn't have the courage, motivation, or technical know-how for the longest time. Then I decided to just try, and I became more comfortable doing it with time, but my view count was always abysmal. I don't think any of my LP vids ever reached 4 digits. But I still loved doing it, and so I did, even though I despised editing. I made custom artwork for most of the games I played, and in the beginning I was doing daily uploads. Of course, that was before I had a day job, so I can't do shit like that anymore. I thought I could lighten my load by streaming everything instead so I wouldn't have to edit it. But when I'm streaming, the lack of viewers made me very depressed and nervous, so I didn't do that for long. At the end of my Let's Play career, I attempted what I called the Fishing for Fads experiment, where I'd play 3 extremely popular games in the hopes of getting just 100 views for any of them. I played a popular retro game, a popular modern game, and even a trending game which I hate doing. But the experiment was a failure, and I quit Let's Plays forever. But my passion for making videos about games did not die. I thought long and hard about what I could do instead and went through many different ideas until finally coming up with The Void, which I enjoy doing much more than I ever did doing Let's Plays. But one crippling obsession still carried over, and that's my insistence on doing more than is necessary, like reviewing every single game in a franchise in order of release. It became a big problem for me when I was reviewing Dark Souls 3 because I had to assume that anyone watching the video had never played a Souls game before. So I had to summarize the entire series and get footage from every game just to make that video. That was a huge pain. It would have actually been easier for me to play and review the first 4 games before doing Dark Souls 3. But I had just played them all on my Let's Play channel and didn't want to do so again so soon. I started worrying about whether or not I would have to replay the first 4 Sonic games before talking about the others, or Dragon Quest I again before talking about any of its sequels. But then I got another idea. I've already played these games and I already have footage of them. What if I just reviewed all of them? All 91 of them real quick in one video so I can move on and not worry about it anymore. Well, that's exactly what I'm about to do. Happy 100 subscriber special, everybody. Here we go. Number 1, Final Fantasy I, the first game I ever Let's Played and the first I ever reviewed. You already know what I think of this game, and its score currently sits at a 9 out of 10, one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. My actual Let's Play of it, however, was extremely rough. Bad webcam quality, bad audio quality, and the ROM hack I was playing made some very disappointing changes. I would recommend playing the original unmodded NES version or the PSP version. Number 2, Undertale. I had been promising my friend Tyler that I would play Undertale for almost a year, but I didn't get around to it until I started doing Let's Plays and thought it might be a good way to get views. I hate my Let's Play of it though. I was really overacting in some places, and the comments were being plagued by a troll, but the game itself is astounding. After my initial 2 playthroughs where I LP'd a pacifist run and a genocide run, I played it all the way through several more times on my own after that. Undertale has an amazing soundtrack, story, and graphical style, and is honestly one of the best games I've ever played. The only 2 improvements I would ask for are the ability to have more than 1 save, so I can have one at Sans and the other in Undyne, which are my 2 favorite fights in the game. The other is to have DLC or mod support so that we can have more amazing boss battles like these ones. The best I can get are mock-up fights just in video form. It's not the same thing as playing them. 9 out of 10. Number 3, Kaboom. Don't watch this Let's Play. I only made this video because I was super depressed and didn't want it to ruin my other series. Kaboom is really fun and addicting. It's just, you sit and you concentrate as hard as you can and it gets faster and faster. It's great for helping you forget about your problems, which is why I played it at the time. But it's fun even when you're not a sad sack. 6 out of 10. Number 4, Ape Escape. I hate this thumbnail. For some reason, people keep giving me compliments on it, but this is the worst custom art I've ever done for a thumbnail. That and its shameless clickbait material, and I detest clickbait. But other than that, Ape Escape is one of my all-time favorite games. It's just 3D platforming, monkey catching, time traveling fun with one of my all-time favorite villains, Spectre the hyper-intelligent white monkey. Ape Escape 1 is the only game to give Spectre any kind of deep characterization, which I talk about in my Let's Play. I will be reviewing the whole trilogy at some point, so I'll go over it again then, but for now I'm giving Ape Escape a 9 out of 10. Number 5, Final Fantasy II, The Pain. I played the Famicom version of FF2, the original, and I hate it. It's overly grindy, has an extremely cryptic equipment system that punishes your choices, and a lot of plot elements that are underwhelming or unnecessary. Characters change personalities on a dime and almost no one gets any backstory. The remakes are better, but the essential mechanics are still there and still make the game unfun. If you're gonna play any version, play the PSP or mobile ones, but otherwise, stay the fuck away. FF2 on the Famicom makes me miserable. 3 out of 10. Number 6, Phantasy Star. The first Phantasy Star game on the Sega Master System has a very steep learning curve, and the English translation makes it harder to figure out where to go or what to do. But once you get off the first planet, the game starts progressing more smoothly. I love these first-person dungeons where I had to draw my own maps, solving the puzzles to get all the treasure. It reminded me a lot of Shining in the Darkness, which is one of my favorite Sega Genesis games. Phantasy Star is kind of jank though. The equipment system is overly simplistic, and the final boss requires a lot of luck or level grinding, but when I beat it, I was so happy. This game gets a 7 out of 10 for me, and I'd love to play its sequel someday. Number 7, Final Fantasy III. FF3 on the Famicom, also known as the only correct version, is probably the best designed of the original trilogy. It introduced the job switching system that the series is famous for, even though most of the games don't really use it much. The only problem with the job system is the abundance of gimmick dungeons and bosses. Instead of letting you solve problems your own way like the other games, the only way to beat the game is to use the right jobs in the right places. But it's not as bad in the original, because instead of using job sickness, you earn capacity points from battles that let you change jobs without penalty, rather than having to suffer for doing so. Though I will admit I prefer the Famicom version's gimmicky final boss to the remakes. The original gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Number 8, Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot was the first part of my 2P series, where I would play games with a guest. Most of the time it was my friend Tyler, but there were some where I played with Kaze and my sister Rose. I already reviewed Crash Bandicoot on this very channel, and I gave the original a 3 out of 10. Watch a Let's Play if you really want to see me suffer. Number 9, Resident Evil DX. I'd always had a passing interest in Resident Evil 3 since I played the demo for it as a kid and I loved Dino Crisis. Wanting to work my way up to it, I started with Resident Evil 1 because my OCD won't let me do otherwise. I played the director's cut, so I don't really know what all was changed from the original, but I loved this game. I loved it so much, I Let's Played it 3 times in a row. It was very satisfying to solve the puzzles and win encounters without using too many supplies or without saving too often. Chris sucks, Jill rules, please put Jill in Smash, 8 out of 10. Number 10, Jojo's Bizarre Adventure. Jojo is Tyler's favorite anime, so naturally he wanted us to do a one-shot where we played the PS1 fighting game. It's not bad, pretty typical for 2D tournament fighters. The hand-drawn 2D sprites look really great, kinda like Darkstalkers, but having never seen the anime myself, I have no real desire to play it on my own or try to beat the arcade mode. Maybe once I see the anime. So for now, no score. Number 11, Yie Ar Kung-Fu. Me and Tyler went to a website dedicated to the history of fighting games, and according to it, Yie Ar Kung-Fu was the very first one. As you can expect, it's maximum jank. There are lots of cheap moves and lots of useless moves. The animations look straight out of a Tiger Electronics game, and the console version is single player only. Not particularly fun. 3 out of 10. Number 12, Wonder Boy. Oh boy! Wonder Boy, the game that Adventure Island is a blatant ripoff of, is a rage game. Out of all the games me and Tyler played together, I don't think any of them caused us greater pain or despair. And we never cheated either, because the game was fair about its sadistic difficulty. We never wanted to cheat, unlike in some of the other games we played. 6 out of 10. Wonder Boy also has a couple sequels, and all of them have been remade, so I look forward to playing those someday. Number 13, Off. Off is an indie RPG maker game made by Mortis Ghost, and in my estimation is the most popular RPG maker game of all time, up there with the likes of To the Moon. It has a very unique artistic style, a fantastic soundtrack by alias Conrad Coldwood, and more than one fan-made sequel. There's even an off-like game on Steam called Suits, a business RPG, which I really look forward to playing. I was gonna make a video about my fan theories of Off, but I never got around to it. So here's the summary. I believe the game's world takes place in a comatose person's brain, and the different areas represent different sections of their brain. The elements represent aspects of his conscious life and the hospital he now finds himself in. The matter is a phantom created by his brain and in the image of his favorite comic book hero for the purpose of shutting the brain down and ending his torment. But you, the player, who is probably the consciousness of the comatose person, can choose to side with your conscience and stop him at the last minute, even though all of your thoughts and brain processes have already died at that point. Your will to live being for naught. Depressing, isn't it? 7 out of 10. Number 14, Crash Bandicoot 2. Though better gameplay and design-wise than Crash 1, me and Tyler still suffered a lot when playing this game, especially when trying to find the hidden warps. I already reviewed this game on The Void and gave it and its remake a 4 out of 10. If you want to know why, you can go watch those videos. Number 15, Final Fantasy IV. FF4 is okay. I don't think it's nearly as good as people make it out to be, and I have no idea why Square continues to suck its dick while ignoring better games like 5, 6, and 9. It was the first truly story-driven game, where your party is chosen for you in different chapters and all the characters have predetermined classes and abilities. All you have to do is level them up and figure out how to use the powers given to you to beat the gimmick bosses. The only customization is equipment. There's a boatload of sappy moments, including the many fake deaths and completely out-of-nowhere story reveals, but I can absolutely see myself loving this game if I'd played it back when it came out and there was nothing else like it at the time. I wouldn't have appreciated it at that age though, so it was probably not meant to be, but I don't hate it or anything. I've beaten all the optional bosses on more than one occasion. It's not unfun, it's just not better than most of the others. 6 out of 10. Number 16, The Adventures of Lolo. What do you get when you mix block-pushing puzzles with time-sensitive monsters and obstacles? A headache. 5 out of 10.
The Adventures of Lolo? You better have saved the receipt.
Number 17, Crash Bandicoot 3. I already reviewed this game and it currently sits at a 9 out of 10. It's my favorite Crash game and one of my favorite games of all time. Number 18, ActRaiser, a hybrid action platformer RTS sim builder, which is damn impressive. The RTS segments are relaxing and story-driven, while the platforming levels are hard as balls. It has a very Castlevania feel, where you can't just tank and damage boost your way through everything. Your every move needs to be methodical, but you also need to be quick because of the time limit. There's a level rush mode, but the time limit and permanent game overs make it pretty much unplayable for me. It's a damn fun game. So fun I LP'd it twice. 7 out of 10. Number 19, The Very Organized Thief. A very simple indie game where you're a burglar trying to steal everything on your list and escape before the owner of the house catches you. Not a whole lot of replay value outside of Easter eggs. 5 out of 10. Number 20, Ribbit King. A fantasy sci-fi themed golf game where the ball is a frog with a mind of its own. There are different colorful characters to play as, consumable items to use, and a multitude of frogs with different abilities. Probably the most fun golf game I've ever played. 6 out of 10. Number 21, Call of Duty. I'm not a first-person shooter fan, but I'm open-minded, so I decided to give the Call of Duty franchise a try, starting with the first game. It was really fun even though I sucked at it. I was especially a fan of the sniper levels. I was so engrossed in the story and atmosphere that I didn't really talk much at all, so this is a pretty boring LP. But I still liked Call of Duty, even brought a tear to my eye during the ending. 6 out of 10. Number 22, Final Fantasy V. FF5 may not have the deepest plot or the richest lore, but its story is still fun with lots of colorful characters and areas to explore. It has one of my favorite job systems in the series where you can switch jobs freely and mix their abilities together to solve problems and progress in your own way, unlike in FF3. The bosses are great, the music is great, the villain is delightfully cheesy, and exploring 2 different planets and their fusion makes the game feel very expansive. 8 out of 10. Number 23, Street Fighter. The original Street Fighter sucks. Janky moves, janky hitboxes, limited playable cast, uninspired character settings and story. It's all kinds of meh. 4 out of 10. Number 24, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. I've played the first 2 Amnesias and watched Markiplier play through most of the third before he apparently got bored of it, and the first Amnesia is definitely the best, even though it's still not that scary. It had the best puzzles, the best atmosphere, the best monsters, and the best story as far as I'm concerned. That and the boatload of custom Amnesia stories and mods multiplies its replayability considerably. 6 out of 10. Number 25, Crystal's Ponytail. I loved this game as a kid, long before the concept of bronies was ever a thing. It's got colorful environments, simple kid-friendly puzzles, and a customizable palette for your pony, but it's full of jank. Your movements are weird and the music isn't that great, although it does have a lot of charm and a genuinely terrifying villain. It's not super fun, but it's fun enough to get it a 5 out of 10. Number 26, Grim Fandango Remastered. I love point-and-click adventures like Monkey Island and Blazing Dragons, especially when they're funny and rich with lore like Grim Fandango. Me and Tyler spent so much time running around trying to figure out what to do, and Glottis is one of the best characters ever. I'm still waiting for the opportunity to use one of the game's jokes on someone.
You're asking the wrong guy. You should be taking a good long look at the man in the mirror. No thanks. I don't enjoy that the same way you do.
6 out of 10. Number 27, Demon's Souls. Even though the first of the 5 Soulsborne games is my least favorite, I still loved it enough to 100% the whole thing solo. I beat every boss, killed every NPC, and got every single item. Unfortunately, due to a bug, I was unable to finish one of the quest lines properly, but it didn't cost me any items. I can't wait until the PS5 is made available again so I can buy the remake, which is the only reason I even want one because FF16 looks boring as shit. 6 out of 10. Numbers 28 through 30. The Crash Bandicoot and Sane Trilogy. I already reviewed all 3 of the Crash Bandicoot remakes. Crash 1's remake got upgraded to a 5 out of 10, Crash 2's remake remains a 4 out of 10, and Crash 3's remake, while not quite as good as the original, is also a 9 out of 10. Number 31, Five Nights at Freddy's. While this may be difficult for some of you to believe, I am a genuine fan of the Five Nights at Freddy's series. I do enjoy playing them, and I do get scared by them. They even gave me nightmares for a while after the first one came out. But they've been getting less scary with each game, and I'm not a fan of the move to mobile devices and VR. Even though I love following the lore, I can't stand MatPat's videos, so I get my info elsewhere. I have never legitimately beaten any of these games' hardest challenges, but that doesn't mean I don't enjoy trying. And FNAF 1 is by far my favorite of the series, and the one I consider the scariest. 7 out of 10. Number 32, Barney's Hide and Seek. A baby game with baby rules where you don't have to do anything and the game plays itself if you idle, and Barney's digitized voice is the stuff of creepypasta. Baby Bob.
Remember, I love you.
Yeah. It's so weird too because I have 2 speakers, and sometimes when he speaks, parts of his voice come out of different channels. 2 out of 10. Number 33, Street Fighter 2. It's Street Fighter 2. The most popular fighting game of all time. I don't think much needs to be said. Unfortunately, I'm not the biggest fan of fighting games, and of the ones I do like, Street Fighter 2 is very low on the list. It takes everything I can muster to beat the final boss on the easiest difficulty. Yes, I suck, but that means the game isn't fun for me. 5 out of 10. Number 34, Katamari Damacy. If you can get past and ultimately accept the crazy Japanese weirdness, Katamari Damacy is one of the most fun games I have ever played. In the LP, Tyler was the one playing the whole time and I just watched because I wasn't interested yet, but by the end, I was hooked. And I started playing the game on my own afterward, and I got everything. I love this game. The final level puts a big smile on my face, and the ending credit sequence moves me to tears. 8 out of 10. Number 35. Fallout. I love Bethesda games, and Oblivion is one of my favorite games of all time, so when Kaze told me that Fallout 3 plays just like it, I gave it a shot and was hooked. I beat Fallout 3, gave up on its DLC because they killed off my favorite character, and then beat Fallout New Vegas. I loved those games, so I thought I'd let's play the series, starting with the first one. Fallout was the last time I did a pre-recorded Let's Play by myself. At least until Fishing for Fads. It was such a miserable experience, and I hated editing it because all it was me being bored out of my mind the whole time. The difficulty is completely unbalanced and relies on luck and save scumming. There are thousands of missable secrets that you won't find unless you try using every skill on every examinable object. It's a slog, and it makes me not even want to play Fallout 2. It's like Grand Theft Auto. The third one was the first good one. 3 out of 10. Number 36, Castlevania. I'm not the biggest fan of Castlevania, although Lament of Innocence and Super Castlevania 4 are two of my favorite games, but the series has always piqued my interest. Me and Tyler tried to beat it legit, but we just can't. The final boss requires pixel-perfect maneuvers. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's not a terrible game. 5 out of 10. Number 37, Tera Online. The only game on my channel that my sister Rose joined us for, even though it was only for one day. We didn't beat it, of course, because it's an MMO. I'm not a fan of MMOs in the first place, so no score. Number 38, Deathtrap Dungeon. This is one of those games that got a lot of unwarranted hate and criticism when it came out, mostly people calling it a Tomb Raider ripoff and who weren't a fan of Gygaxian dungeon crawlers. But I always knew there was something special about it, even though my dumb kid-ass self could barely get past the second level. That all changed when me and Tyler decided to play it all the way through. That game is hella fun and one of my most popular LPs. The only real problem I have with it though is that it's impossible to 100%. I spent days trying to complete one of its levels and even bought the Brady Games guide, but it appears to actually be broken. I don't think there's a prize for getting 100% though, and if there is, it can wait until I play the PC version, which hopefully doesn't have the same problem. For now, the PS1 version gets a 7 out of 10. Number 39, Tail Concerto. A cute but poorly voice-acted Japanese furry game. In a world where Japan doesn't do much with the traditional furry characters, preferring to stick with Kimono Mimi, this game is a treat. The plot's not that great, the music is pretty forgettable, but the characters are memorable and the gameplay mechanics are very unique, being played entirely with the main character's mech. There's some pretty janky platforming in some places though. 6 out of 10. Number 40, Alien Crush, a pinball adventure with H.R. Geiger style art direction. Not much else to say. 5 out of 10. Number 41, Columns. Think Tetris, but all the pieces are vertical lines. What matters are what's in the lines, and all you had to do is get 3 of the same color in a row. Very simple, very fun, but not particularly notable. 6 out of 10. Number 42, Spyro the Dragon, one of my favorite PS1 games. The first Spyro stands out from the rest in its lack of recurring NPCs. The world feels empty, except for the colorful enemies that infest it. So there's nothing preventing you from just charging through them, collecting all the treasure and freeing all the dragons. It's mindless exploration at its best. And although most of the game is too easy, there will always be treetops, and the flying stages provide that sliver of challenge. 9 out of 10. Number 43, Pocahontas. A very underrated Prince of Persia clone for kids, with unlockable animal-themed power-ups, hidden collectibles, fantastic 16-bit renditions of the movie's songs, beautiful graphics, and a high-energy ending sequence. It's one of the best Sega Genesis games ever made, but no one ever talks about it. So bizarre. 8 out of 10. Number 44, Killer 7, a psychological thriller about an assassin with multiple personality disorder. Everyone in this game seems to be crazy, and you see things that probably aren't real, but you're crazy, so how can you make the distinction? Surreal doesn't even begin to describe the story and setting, but that's saying nothing about the gameplay, which is like a rail shooter where you can choose to go backwards or forwards at your own pace, exploring the areas, collecting items, and solving puzzles. For as interesting as the game may be to watch, it's not particularly fun to play, so I let Tyler do most of it. I don't want to give it less than a 5 out of 10 though. Number 45, Spyro 2, Ripto's Rage. The sequel to Spyro thought it could improve upon the original by adding hundreds of new characters, collectibles, and mini-games. Is it improvement? Not in my opinion, but it's still an amazing game. The bosses are very epic compared to the pushovers in the first, and these characters have become staples for the rest of the series. Except Allura. 8 out of 10. Number 46, Dark Souls. My first Souls game and my second favorite overall. On stream, me and my friends played the remastered version, which I personally feel is superior to the original. Off stream, I have no idea how many times I've played it. I've played it on console and on PC. I've played the Daughters of Ash mod, and I've had loads of fun with the item and fog wall randomizers. I even did a second stream where I soloed the whole game. What can I even say about Dark Souls without doing a full review? It's fucking Dark Souls, man. This, I feel, is a good opportunity to explain what the new meaning of 10 out of 10 is. It's not just something that's so good that I could play it forever, although Dark Souls definitely fits that criteria. Keeping that criteria would severely limit the games that can be 10 out of 10 to sandbox games or games that are randomly generated, neither of which are good descriptors of my all-time favorite games. Instead, 10 out of 10 is for the games that aren't just amazing games, like Crash 3. These are the cream of the crop, what I would put in my top 10 of all time. Games that had a meaningful impact on my very life. Dark Souls is one of those games. Oh my god, we're only half done. Alright. Number 47, Spyro Year of the Dragon. This LP was my first time playing any Spyro game other than 1 or 2. It's basically just more of Spyro 2's formula, only with a mess of different playable characters. I don't mind playing this game too much, but I don't like it as much as the original 2. 6 out of 10. Number 48, Gauntlet 4. Is apparently a remake of Gauntlet 1, and a vastly superior one at that. Me and my friend Kaze played it co-op, and it was loads of fun. Classic, retro, dungeon crawly arcade action with a surprisingly deep ending too. 7 out of 10. Number 49, Five Nights at Freddy's 2. This game is too hard and it's not all that fun. The whole game is just winding the music box and hoping that RNG is on your side. The difficulty is unbalanced. 5 out of 10. Number 50, Final Fantasy VI. I should like FF6 more than I do. It has the best graphics, the best story, and arguably the best music of the original Hexology. But I just don't really like playing it that much. I don't like how the characters' statistics develop, being dependent on what magicite they're equipped with when they level up. It causes irreversible changes in your characters, so you have to be very meticulous with who learns which spells and in which order, and since you don't always have access to every character, it's just a mess. It feels like a management sim. I enjoy the idea of FF6 more than the game itself, but I don't hate playing it. 7 out of 10. Number 51, Five Nights at Freddy's 3. I really like the concept of FNAF 3, being like a chess game between just two pieces. There are obstacles that inhibit the both of you, and for a while, this seemed like the most fair game so far. However, in-game cheats give you a radar that reveals some of the incarnations of Springtrap you see to be fakes, turning it into a guessing game with limited resources. Springtrap also has a bad habit of ignoring your audio cues, which can easily mean instant death for you. More RNG bullcrap. 5 out of 10. Number 52, Dark Souls 2. My favorite game in the Souls franchise, a concept I have great difficulty explaining to people who believe it to be the series' worst. I am aware of the game's faults. The lore is kind of all over the place, the OST is very forgettable, the prerequisites for completing Covenants are far too demanding, and the last stretch of the game is too linear. But I love everything else about it, especially the combat and the level design. I love the power stance feature and the small white soapstone, both of which I wish they'd brought back. I like the death mechanics, including the hollowing system, and it has two of my favorite DLCs in the series. Dark Souls 2 is the one I feel the most comfortable with. It's the one I've sunk the most hours into, and the one to which I also return when I just want to relax with Dark Souls. I'll probably do a full review someday, but for now I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. Number 53, Five Nights at Freddy's 4. In my opinion, FNAF 4 was the best FNAF since the first one, and the last scary one until Help Wanted. It's so dark and quiet, and I love the game's focus on audio over visuals. The 5th and 6th nights are also really cool ideas. 7 out of 10. Number 54, Sonic the Hedgehog. I had never beaten the original Sonic before streaming it, mainly due to Labyrinth Zone and its ridiculous boss.
Well, you just killed Sonic the Hedgehog. Are you happy?
Yeah.
Wow, you're a terrible human being. What did Sonic ever do to you?
Labyrinth Zone. It's kind of boring actually, for all the reasons people have been saying for years. It's supposed to be fast, but the only level in which you can reasonably go fast is the very first. The rest of the game is being careful and slow, and the bosses aren't that inspired either. Just about every other Sonic game is more fun than this one. 5 out of 10. Number 55, Cuphead. I love this game. The retro cartoon art style, the big band soundtrack, the characters, and most importantly, the gameplay itself. I have a strange niche fondness for boss rush games, and Cuphead fills that void for me. The platforming levels are okay, but I'd rather just fight the bosses. I've gotten S rank on almost all of them, and will happily return to S rank the rest if the DLC ever comes out. At least give us more updates, guys. Come on. 9 out of 10. I'm also looking forward to the Netflix series. Again, if it ever comes out. Number 56, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Sonic 2 is my favorite of the original trilogy. It has shorter levels in exchange for a much larger variety, better bosses, better music, and when I was LPing it, I played with Tails following me, not realizing that doing so made the bonus levels harder, so I couldn't get all the Chaos Emeralds. The only downside to Supersonic's implementation is that he's useless if you don't get him super early, as the last few levels aren't really designed with him in mind. 7 out of 10. Number 57, Dot Hack Infection. The Dot Hack quadrilogy is a weird beast, as it's all just one game split into 4 separately sold games that you had to transfer your save data between. It plays like an MMO, only there's no online multiplayer at all. The game is about your character playing an MMO and trying to solve the mystery of a rampant virus. There's a message board, and you can recruit other players who are AI controlled of course, but who aren't always available because real life gets in the way. That's so cool, but it would be more realistic if you couldn't pause. It's supposed to be online after all. Other than that, it's just a fun, mindless dungeon crawler, but I don't know if I want to play 3 more games of this. Maybe if they ever re-release them all as one game, I'll complete it then. 6 out of 10. Number 58, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Yes, I'm counting them as one game. For the most part, it's just a bigger and better Sonic 2, with 2 storylines, an extended final boss for getting all 14 emeralds in the series' best bonus rounds, and a soundtrack allegedly composed by Michael Jackson. Objectively, it's the best of the original trilogy, but my experience was soured by an extremely unfair boss in Knuckles' story. Not even save scumming could make it easy. Sans Knuckles, I wouldn't mind playing it again. 6 out of 10. Number 59, Chrono Trigger. The best game that Square continues to ignore. A massive world spanning several time periods, events, and actions that actively change the future, over a dozen endings which I got all of, fun bosses, a great soundtrack, character design by Akira Toriyama, environment-specific encounters. The only bad thing in this game is the stupid fucking mountain dungeon they added to the DS version. If you haven't played Chrono Trigger, you are sorely missing out. 8 out of 10. Number 60, Devil May Cry. A hack-and-slash action horror game with the same haunting yet cheesy atmosphere as Evil Dead. I love the first Devil May Cry for its simplicity and setting, but I'm not very good at it. I always get low scores, and I can't do the bonus rounds. 6 out of 10. Number 61, Pocky and Rocky. A co-op action game with lots of colorful characters and environments based on Japanese mythology. Though it's not a shmup, it has elements of bullet hell games and can feel unfair at times, especially the final boss. 6 out of 10. Number 62, Rayman. The first Rayman is a very solid game. Great graphics, great music, awesome bosses, and a variety of settings and game mechanics. The only really bad thing about the game is its overwhelming difficulty. Finding some of the secrets, all of which are required to face the final boss, can take forever as they're very cryptic and the levels are all very long. This game could also have benefited from infinite lives, but instead, you get limited continues. In a game where you can save your progress. What's the point of that? We actually couldn't beat it without save scumming the last couple bosses, but the game has a charm that just cannot be matched. 7 out of 10. Number 63, Professor Layton and the Curious Village. A point-and-click adventure filled to the brim with logic puzzles, mazes, sliding puzzles, math games, riddles, hidden picture games, and more. All wrapped around a mystery story about a mysterious town and a great treasure hidden within. It's a very charming game, with anime cutscenes very reminiscent of Studio Ghibli films. The only thing really wrong with it is weak replayability, as people who played it before will remember most of the puzzle solutions. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy playing it multiple times anyway. 7 out of 10. Number 64, Bloodborne. My third favorite game in the Soulsborne series, if you buy the theory that they're all in the same timeline, which is what that word means. Bloodborne is basically just Dark Souls, but in a 19th century Lovecraftian setting, with a stronger focus on guns, machines, and dodging than on armor or shields. Instead of dragons or demons, there's werewolves, aliens, and lots of tentacle monsters. Armor is weightless and doesn't need upgraded, but the rune and blood gem systems still provide plenty of customization. There are also thousands of pre-generated dungeons to delve for all my fellow spelunkers. It may take a while to make the transition from traditional Souls, but once you do, you'll be able to solo the super boss on New Game Plus, like I did. 8 out of 10. Number 65, Go Go Hypergrind. I'm not big into sports games, and I don't like the skateboarding minigames in Spyro, but I am a huge fan of Ren and Stimpy. So when Tyler told me the same people made a cartoony skateboarding games, I rewatched the entire series in preparation for it. According to him, the game is just a clone of the Tony Hawk games, which I've never played, so I was able to approach the game with a fresh pair of eyes. The cast of characters is great, the environments are great, and the music is fantastic too. Very J-poppy in places, but these cutscenes are horrendous. I expected far better from the masters behind Ren and Stimpy. The biggest problem with the gameplay itself is how long the story mode is. You could play this game for hours and still end up losing. Though I never got as good as Tyler, I still had fun learning the ropes. 6 out of 10. Number 66, Final Fantasy VII. FF7 is my second favorite game of all time. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, because I will be doing a full review of it someday, but this game is easily a 10 out of 10. Number 67, Vanish. God damn, why is this game so fucking scary? I also couldn't figure out how to beat it. It is a lot of RNG, but it tends to be kinder to some. Because I didn't beat it, I won't give it a score. Number 68, Bonk's Adventure. Bonk is the mascot of the TurboGrafx 16, so we thought we'd pay our dues and play his game. For the most part, it's simple and cute, and that dragon princess is kinda hot, but once you get to the last couple levels, it starts to get kind of unfair in its difficulty. There was an entire mechanic we didn't know about that's crucial to fighting the final boss, so we ended up having to save scum it. Not a bad game, 6 out of 10. Numbers 69 to 71. Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. The Spyro remakes are gorgeous, but they made some very questionable character designs to Allura, Zoe, and especially Sheila. But at least they fixed the Bentley boxing minigame, and Hunter doesn't sound like a condescending douchebag anymore. Spyro 1's dragons all have completely unique designs now, and they added new hidden collectibles. Other than that, these games are virtually identical save for some censorship here and there, but the PC versions have mods that fix all that. So Spyro 1 is still a 9 out of 10, Spyro 2 is still an 8 out of 10, and Spyro 3 is still a 6 out of 10. Number 72, Dragon Quest 1. Sorry. Dragon Quest 1 is by far the most miserable experience I ever had doing Let's Plays. Even though I enjoy level grinding in most games, that's all this game is, and it's not fun. The entire stream was just me and chat listening to the soundtracks of better games while I grinded in a muted game. I only played it because I'd planned to also play its vastly superior sequels. Every Dragon Quest is a masterpiece compared to this one, and one of them is my fourth favorite game of all time. You thought FF2 was bad? FF2 was at least fun. Maybe the remakes of Dragon Quest 1 are better, but I haven't played them, so I don't know. But the NES version is getting a 2 out of 10. Number 73, Medieval. One of my favorite PS1 games. I already reviewed it and the remake on this channel, but the scores I gave them are outdated and inaccurate. Consider them both a 9 out of 10 from this point forward. Number 74, Final Fantasy VIII. I never finished this Let's Play because I got bogged down by Triple Triad. I had never completed that side quest before, but my god, streams are not the place to do so unless you already know what you're doing. I already promised that I would review the games I didn't finish, so even though I have beaten this game before, I'm gonna hold off on giving a score for now. Number 75, Dark Souls 3. Like FF8, I didn't finish my Dark Souls 3 Let's Play because I bogged myself down with a fear of missing things, something that's very easy to do in this game. I did eventually complete it though, and you can find the full review right here on my channel. It currently sits at a 6 out of 10. Number 76, Adventures of Lolo 2. What do you get when you mix block-pushing puzzles with time-sensitive monsters and obstacles, and then make a sequel that's even harder? You get a migraine. 4 out of 10. Number 77, Deltarune. Though only the first separately released chapter, it's long and content-packed enough to qualify as its own game. Just like Undertale, it's got a great graphical style, combat system, soundtrack, and cast. I was glad to finally get another hard fight in Jevil. I should play it again so I can fight him more. 7 out of 10. Number 78, Crash Team Racing. I already reviewed this game in part 1 of Crash Bandicoot season. I gave it a 6 out of 10. Review of the remake due to come. Number 79, We Love Katamari. The second Katamari definitely has way more content than the first, but I don't know, it just feels uninspired. The first game felt like they really had this great niche idea and ran with it, but the second feels like they just did it because the sequels. 5 out of 10. Number 80, Left 4 Dead 2. Not a fan of first-person shooters, as I've said, and frantic multiplayer zombie infestation games also aren't my thing. These types of games exhaust me, and when I was re-watching my stream, I noticed I enjoyed watching it more than I appeared to enjoy playing it. But I'm like that with lots of games. I don't know why. 5 out of 10. Number 81, Final Fantasy XI. Of course I didn't finish this game on stream. It's a 700-hour MMO. But you already know what I think of this game. I made 3 videos about it. 3 out of 10. Alright. Just 10 games left. Number 82, Rayman 2 Revolution. Rayman 2 was one of my favorite PS2 games, but we weren't able to finish a Let's Play of it because my depression was starting to kick in, but I will do a full review someday. I already promised I would. No score for now. Number 83, Oh My God, Look at This Night. In response to my bout of depression, I decided I needed to try harder. So I played a short, cute game pre-recorded and edited like old times and without a webcam. This would force me to have to talk more since I'd no longer be able to express my feelings through facial expressions or body language. Guess what? It still didn't work and no one watched it. As for the game, it's, as I said, short and cute. There's some Easter eggs here and there and there's not really any way to lose or fail, so it's really just for the concept. I'd say 5 out of 10 for this one. Number 84, Nintendogs. A funny idea I had was to make a video called Video Games Appeal to the Male Fantasy, which was a movement being made by the feminist Nazi party at the time to ruin everyone else's fun like always. It was a satirical video in that I primarily played video games aimed at girls, to flip the idea on its head, and, you know, it's hard to explain. The first game I played was Nintendogs, which I couldn't get very far in because it relies on microphone input and my emulator wasn't reading it correctly. Munchkin. What the hell? What my voice? Munchkin. That is creepy. From what I can tell, the game is just about taking care of digital pets, and that's it. I don't know if there's an ending, because I didn't beat any of the games in this video, since they were all just meant to be snippets, but I don't have a pressing desire to play any more of this one, so no score. Number 85, Style Savvy. Now here's a game I'd like to go back to someday. Style Savvy is a really unique Nintendo DS game in that you play it sideways, so both screens are in portrait. It's about working at your new job in a clothing store, helping customers find good-looking outfits they like. Most of the time. Sometimes their sense of fashion is horrendous, but that's part of what makes the game enjoyable. I like playing this game because it gives me lots of great ideas for character designs that I can use in my books. Really looking forward to this one. Number 86, Best Friends My Horse. Like Nintendogs, but worse and not really all that cute. There are millions of menus worth of information, so it's almost like some kind of horse encyclopedia with a Tamagotchi attached. It gives you very little direction because I think it expects you to have the instruction manual. All you do is feed your horse, enter it in shows, and run around the speed of light for some reason. I don't even think there is a way to beat it, but this was the worst game I played in this particular video. 4 out of 10. Number 87, Hamtaro, Ham Hams Unite. The last and probably best game in that video. Ham Hams Unite is fucking adorable. It revolves around exploring various areas and learning various keywords to solve puzzles with. Each keyword is accompanied by a different animation, and there's like 100 of these. There's a mini game where you can make Hamtaro dance to different songs, and it's just so diabetes inducing. Definitely want to finish this one. Number 88, The Elder Scrolls 1 Arena. This was the last stream I ever did. I couldn't handle the lack of views anymore, so I gave up streaming for good after that. I would like to stream again sometime soon, but not in Let's Play format. No YouTube VODs, no numbered parts of series, just me streaming what and when I feel like it. But that has nothing to do with the Elder Scrolls. I love this game. I also love 2, 4, and 5. Me and 3 have some issues to work out. One of the first game's biggest appeals is just how goddamn gigantic it is. Every town, every house, and every random dungeon out in the near infinitely sized overworld is pre-generated with randomly generated enemies and piles of treasure. You could potentially play this game forever, and I have never succeeded in walking from one town to another. It takes too long, so you have to fast travel everywhere. It might be possible to reach story dungeons without having heard of them first, but I've never attempted it. It also begins with this really cool questionnaire that tells you what class is best suited for your personality, to help you really get into role-playing your character. Arena is great, but I'm not giving it a score just yet. I want to review all the Elder Scrolls games someday. Number 89, Portal 2. The first of the 3 games I did for my Fishing for Fads experiment. I only did one part since it failed to reach 100 views, but I did eventually go back and finish it on my own time. Probably not gonna do a full review since there's really not much to say about it. It's funny, it's got good puzzles, great characters, a multiplayer mode I haven't tried yet. It might just be that I'm getting worn out, but I can't think of any more specific things to criticize or praise. But you already know it's a good game. It's Portal 2. 7 out of 10. Number 90, Sonic CD. The game that introduced Amy Rose in her superior design back when she actually looked like a hedgehog, and my favorite Sonic character, Metal Sonic. This is an okay game and I was actually able to beat it all in one video, but I do not understand how it's meant to be played. What does traveling back and forth through time even do other than change the tile sets? I'm sure it has something to do with the ending, but fuck trying to get the Chaos Emeralds or Time Stones or whatever they were in these awful bonus rounds. The theme song kicks ass though. 6 out of 10. And lastly, number 91, Super Mario Maker 2. Though I've still never made a level in this game, I do enjoy playing the levels made by others. I completed the entire story mode and watched all the tutorials, which I love. Seriously, I consider Yamamura's Dojo to be one of my favorite anime. And I want more episodes, damn it! I didn't do any of that in my video though. Instead, I just played the top 5 most popular player-made levels, which I did enjoy, but obviously more than people enjoyed watching me. 7 out of 10. I thought for sure this video would rake in some views, since Mario Maker 2 is still trending even to this day, but sadly this LP was a failure too, so I gave up Let's Plays forever, content in the knowledge that I simply was not destined to be a Let's Player. But everything happens for a reason. Since my other channel's algorithm was completely screwed up by one completely unrelated video, I decided to make a brand new one. Yes, the one you're on right now. And I'm getting so much more verbal support than I ever have doing anything else. Every week, someone tells me I deserve more views and subscribers, and I choose to believe them. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, I'll be here, in the darkness, quietly awaiting your return. Most Final Fantasies are JRPGs, fantasy adventures where you control a small group of characters on a quest to save the world by delving into dozens of dungeons drenched in despicable denizens of the dark like demons, dragons, devils, and drow. So basically it's single-player D&D, which was the primary inspiration for the first game.